So, my name is Ishika. I'm an online fitness coach. I help women with essentially, I help them build confidence through their fat loss goals or through building their body.
I have recently seen a post on your Instagram about your weight loss journey as well, and the transformation seems incredible. So
Thank
tell
you.
us about that.
I probably relate more to like the older version of me than the newer version of me. I think I've lived majority of my life as someone who really struggled with that side. Then now, I guess. And so sometimes, even when I see myself, I'm like, oh, okay, actually, there's been a big transformation, but it's not necessarily who I see myself as right now at this moment. So I think that's also part of why I keep doing what I'm doing because. It really helps me to relate with other women in that way because I know, especially when they come to these consultations with me, I know exactly how they feel because I almost feel like I'm still navigating my way through that journey.
The processed food or the instant food that we get is affecting us health wise.
You might not be aware of the choices that you're making. You might not be aware of even like what's good, what's not good. It might be because of convenience. It might be because of so many other things that, we're more gravitated towards making these choices, right? And it's easy, it's cheaper, it's all of those things. But it's more of like a feedback
Yeah,
loop.
I
Like
got
you
it.
eat
Yeah.
something, it makes you feel really good, you want to
Mm.
do it again. And there's no reason for you to break that over and over
Yeah.
again until it gets to a point where it's like, okay, well, this is really not making me feel good anymore. And maybe we'll look at making better choices.
Do you think like women after 30 are supposed to take the supplements? What do you think about that? Before we begin, do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Also, follow me on TikTok and Instagram because short clip of this long session for the value will be uploaded there. In this session, we talk about physical and mental well-being, side effects of processed food, how we can build a healthy lifestyle, and different myth we hear about fitness and does fitness we build today directly impact our lifespan. So, enjoy the podcast. Hello and namaste. Welcome back to another episode of Raw Talk with Resilient Woman by Sudikshya Shrestha. This session will be all about becoming happier, healthier, and more healed in 2026. I want to help you get stronger and feel that you have more courage. In order to do all those things, I'm looking for a guest who is expert and help you build with good physical and mental ability. Today's guest is a friend of mine who will help us get fitter and stronger. So let me welcome Ishika Rai. Thank you so much, Ishika, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited to start this. So tell us about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Ishika. I'm an online fitness coach. I help women with fat loss mainly, but I help them with confidence, and essentially I help them build confidence through their fat loss goals or through building um, their body.
Oh, okay. That's quite an intro, yeah. So, 2026 is soon coming in like few days or weeks, yeah. So there might be people who have fallen short for their fitness goal. So, what would you like to recommend them and how can they start it?
Okay, so I think a lot of the times, so if someone has kind of felt like they failed this year on their fitness goals, I think usually it's because they've kind of expected themselves to do too much too soon. Usually they might not have necessarily a plan for when things go wrong, or it might just be that there's too much going on. They didn't know how to navigate those things. That's probably going to be one of the most important thing when it comes to being very clear on what it is that they want. Why are they doing the things that they're doing? And I think managing their expectations as well, like when it comes to that. So we tend to usually have a plan for the best version of ourselves, but not necessarily on the days that we're kind of struggling the most, right? So
Yeah.
having a plan for when um, things are not going as well.
Mm. Yeah. So, have you ever been in such kind of situation where things haven't worked out for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially this year, I really struggled with I've been kind of open about it, but like, I went through my massive breakup this year. I moved into a new place this year, and it was, and all the while, like, I turned 30. So they were like really, really big moments that were happening all at once. But for me, I'd set a goal for myself this year that I was going to do this thing, this photo shoot that I did. And, despite all of the things that were happening, I think in a way that really kept me grounded because it allowed me to have somewhere else to focus
Mm.
because when your life is falling apart, you need something to keep you grounded.
Yeah.
And for me, fitness was that this year, and I'm so glad that I just completely dedicated myself to that. But yeah, definitely, and I think it just comes down to being able to navigate those things, um like doing the bare minimum even on like literally your worst day.
Yeah, it does. So I have recently seen a post on your Instagram about your weight loss journey as well, and the transformation seems incredible. So
Thank
tell
you.
us about that.
Okay, so I would probably sometimes, like, okay, when I look at these pictures, I probably relate more to like the older version of me than the newer version of me.
Mhm.
Because I think I've lived majority of my life as someone who really struggled with that side. Then now, I guess. And so sometimes even when I see myself, I'm like, oh, okay, actually, there's been a big transformation, but it's not necessarily who I see myself as right now at this moment. So I think that's also part of why I keep doing what I'm doing because, it really helps me to relate with other women in that way because
Mhm.
I know, especially when they come to these consultations with me, I know exactly how they feel because I almost feel like I'm still navigating my way through that journey. Um, but again, like large part of why I did go through that transformation was because I really struggled with my confidence massively. And, I moved to London when I was 12, which is, the age where you're kind of navigating life or entering your teenage years anyway. And then add in like a new surrounding, you don't speak like others, you don't understand their hobbies, you don't understand like the things that they're talking about. You don't watch the same shows, you don't watch like you don't have the same kind of the way that you speak, all of these things. um, and so the things that you don't like about yourself become even more heightened. Like, and especially for me, that was my body. I didn't like how quickly I was gaining weight and how much of that was affecting my confidence. Um, and yeah, I think since then, it's just been a lot of like trial and errors and figuring out what works, what doesn't work, learning a lot of things along the way. And yeah.
So being fit and strong was like a part of your journey from
Yeah.
the adolescence itself, right?
I would say probably not so much. Because when you're younger, you do a lot of things because, either because your parents put you in
Yeah.
certain hobbies or like in Nepal, I did a lot of activities, like a lot of activities. But when you are an adult, you have to kind of choose these things. You have to make time out of your day to
Yeah.
make these things happen, right? Because they might not necessarily come naturally, but there's usually like either you feel most people start because they don't feel that great about themselves. And then you have to learn to make time for those things. And so I think I would say probably like because I knew that my natural tendency is to not be fit and not be strong, I think that's probably why I started doing it
Okay.
because it's like, well, if I don't, then the opposite is not really gonna
Mm.
make me feel that great.
Wow. That's really, it does make sense, whatever you're saying. So is there like non-negotiable habit of yours?
Okay, so again, like I try and plan for the worst days. Like for example, usually as women, like our worst day is probably gonna be during our periods, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you just don't want to move at all that day,
Mhm.
especially like if you've got cramps, if you've got like so many other things on your plate, the last thing that you want to do is get yourself moving on that
Mm.
day. But I also know for me personally, like I will feel even worse for not doing anything on that day. So
Okay.
then I tend to go, okay, Ish, like what can you do today that it's actually going to make you feel really good? For example, yesterday I was really struggling. I was like, okay, I woke up at 5:30. Then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to stay in bed for a little while longer. And it's fine if I don't do anything.
Hmm.
But I was starting to feel that kind of like, oh, Ish, like you really want to do something? Do you want to do something? And then I thought, okay, if I do 6,000 steps a day, that's it ish. Like just do that and then, you're okay for the day. And then I went and I did just that. So for me, it would probably be like walking is
Mm.
probably the least I would do. And then making myself something like nice and warm, like a soup or something. Yeah.
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 So it's like a habit.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
the discipline, but the habit that you're
Yeah.
forming, right?
Yeah.
Well,
And I always try to think of it as like, okay, what is it something like, because on when you're having a really bad day, you want something or someone to kind of like make you feel loved,
yeah.
right? Or you want someone kind of that feeling of like, oh, being looked after. And so for me, it's like really important that I do small bits that make me feel like I'm looking after myself. And so I think that just automatically translates into it being looking like it's discipline and looking like it's like a habit, but it's just that I like to do something nice for myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, do you think the fitness that we build today is going to directly impact the lifespan?
Yeah, massively. I don't know about you, but I grew up watching a lot of like my family members, especially older generation, like fall a lot. They've always had knee issues, back
Mm.
issues, and like even I don't know, like if you know, but do you know Baudakura?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so my granddad used to go for that a lot,
Yeah.
and it got to a point where, he couldn't walk all the way
Oh.
because he would fall a lot. And that came down to you know, not having enough like muscle mass,
Mm.
because that's really important, right? So we only think of it as like in terms of aesthetics, but bone health, your muscle health does so much more for you than just looking a certain way, right? Like it protects you when you're older, like your balance, all of these things. And there's a really high, like once someone falls in an older age, it's very difficult for them to manage life from that point on because there's a very high possibility that that will happen again.
Yeah.
And so then it becomes okay, so if we have the privilege now to protect ourselves from doing those, from preventing those things, then why not? Like, of course, we should take the steps. It
Mm.
might not be from a aesthetic point of view, but from longevity, like we
Yeah.
should absolutely take those steps, right? And that again comes with, I think, more knowledge around
Mm.
those things, and
Yeah.
also kind of being like we're talking about it right now, like have
Yeah.
all of these kind
Yeah,
of yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So, do you think like women after 30 are supposed to take the supplements? What do you think about that?
Um, Again, my stance on supplements, I think I don't know, you know, it might differ from a lot of people, I would say, but I think that it should always come down to the basics, which is, are you eating the right stuff? Are you looking after yourself through nutrition, like
Mhm.
through food first? And then maybe we can look at adding other bits into it. So for example, like, right now UK is really like
Yeah.
gloomy.
Mm.
And so it might benefit from having vitamin D's, or
Yeah.
it might benefit from having like, I don't know, omega 3, something like that. Just having nutritious food in general is probably always going to be way better. And then you can look into adding other things. But I don't think supplement necessarily will replace any of those things.
Mm.
So especially for women over 30, or coming into their 30s, I think, we are getting to that point where we think about a lot of things about our health and stuff
Yeah.
like this. So we tend to sometimes, yes, there is an aspect of, yeah, thinking about aesthetics and the way that we look, but there's also a pull towards, okay, how can we better take care of ourselves? And I think that will always, always start with the basic nutrition and doing all of those things and looking after those things first and then supplement.
Okay. So, let us talk something about, there's this elephant in the room which rarely people talk about. So, we have heard a lot of tragic story regarding, the people, the heavy lifters,
Mm,
having the cardiac arrest and all of those things, and taking the, serines or, the
mm-hmm,
supplements that
mm,
might be beneficial for them in a short period of time, but
yeah.
not for the long period of time. So, what do you think about that?
Okay. So in terms of like the cardiac arrest part of it, I think it's not, I don't think it's necessarily weightlifting that causes this. There's usually an underlying issue that already exists
Okay.
that causes it. It's like if you have maybe some kind of like underlying heart issues that you might not be aware of, then doing something that's like more strenuous on your body, which is going to be like lifting, that might just show up more because of it. And that might just cause the elevated heart rate, which in turn is kind of highlighting the underlying issue that's already there, and then having the heart
Mm.
cardiac arrest, but not necessarily the weightlifting itself, similar to like if you were driving and you had a heart attack, you wouldn't necessarily go, okay, it's because it's
Yeah,
because
yeah,
of the
yeah.
car, or if you
Yeah.
fell down the stairs, you wouldn't say it's because of the stairs.
Yeah.
And it's usually like because there's already something there that's causing it.
Mm.
That's probably why.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's totally a myth. Like heavy
Yeah.
lifters usually have the cardiac arrest
Yeah,
and this and
and
so.
that's going to be because you already have an underlying issue,
Okay.
because exercise at the end of the day is going to cause like your heart rate to elevate, right?
Mm.
And so if in a normal healthy person, that is very, very, very unlikely.
Okay. Okay, makes sense. So, in your view, is an addiction to highly processed food and sugar be break as a substance of addiction? What do you think about that?
Uh, as in, is it the same as the
Yeah, it's
addiction?
like addiction. Like uh, nowadays, people are quite prone to having the processed food
Yeah,
easy and
yeah,
accessible.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you think like it's as much dangerous as consuming alcohol?
Okay. Okay. So obviously we live in a society that's
Mm.
very I would say obesogenic. So,
Yeah.
food is very, very accessible.
Mm.
And, when you've got a really high stress job, when you've got a lot of stuff going on, the last thing that you want to do is come home, make time to cook. Like all of those
Yeah.
things are just not something that you prioritize. So the first thing that you're going to is probably going to deliver, and you're probably going to order
Mm.
something that's quick and easy, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just the way that our life is right now. Um, in like but that's more of a, I would say, more of a behavior addiction,
Okay.
behavioral issue, more than like an addiction similar to alcohol or similar to any kind of
Yeah.
like drugs. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's way too different. Though the processed food or the instant food that we get is affecting us health wise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And again, like it's more of a behavior thing. So you might not be aware of the choices that you're making. You might not be aware of even like what's good, what's not good. It might be because of convenience. It might be because of so many other things that, we're more gravitated towards making these choices, right? And it's easy, it's cheaper, it's all of those things. But in terms of like it being an addiction,
Yeah.
it's more of like a feedback loop.
Yeah, I
Like
got
you
it.
eat
Yeah.
something, it makes you feel really good, you want to do
Mm.
it again. And there's no reason for you to break that over and over
Yeah.
again until it gets to a point where it's like, okay, well, this is really not making me feel good
Yeah.
anymore. And maybe we'll look at making better choices.
Yeah.
And again, like I don't really know much about like alcohol addiction and how
Mm.
much of that would vary into this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's more of a behavioral.
So, is there any like single most harmful misinformation that's circulating around, fitness?
I'm not sure about trends, but the things that I really like right now is, and I think I might just be in it too. I don't know. But I think I like the fact that there's more encouragement and movement in general. And, I mean, there's always going to be an aspect of this, is this right? Is this wrong? More people are promoting Pilates,
Mm.
more people are promoting strength
Yeah.
training. There's so many things, right? But I think in general, the whole conversation of, okay, like let's move more, let's do things more in order to look after our health. I'm really like in with it.
Okay. So the movement, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
movement in general.
there are a couple of my friends as well.
Yeah.
They always track down their steps.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they do
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
guess that's quite beneficial as well,
yeah.
right?
Movement in any form is gonna be so good. And, like, I keep coming back to the weather, but London during this time is like you just don't want to move at all. Like it's so
Yeah.
easy to move during summertime
Mm.
and you're so much happier and stuff, right? But during winter time, I probably, if I really didn't try, I would probably get like 1,000 steps at max. And
Mm.
it's you have to be more intentional about, it doesn't necessarily have to be like, you're chasing after 10, 12, 15K, but yeah, like movement in general is always going to make you feel better. Like when you go out for a walk, like how much better do you feel after? And it might not be the walk itself, but just getting yourself to do something that you didn't want to do, that always makes you feel so much better, I think. Yeah.
So, finally, if you could have one core principle for a lifelong healthy relationship with fitness,
Yeah.
what would it be?
Lifelong principle core.
Yeah.
I would probably, for myself, want to continue strength training for as long as I can. And it's something that I would like to I try to encourage even the families around me, like my friends, everyone, because I know that, the benefit outweighs like
Yeah.
so much more. And I think in terms of bone health, in terms of being able to move, all of these things, and I think about how do I want to feel in 20, 30, 40, 50 years time? Like, do I want to have the same ability to move? Do I want to be able to do the same things? Do I want to be able to carry my groceries down like bring it up to my
Mhm.
home, all of these things. And I think being more strong, especially as a woman as well, like it massively builds your confidence. And that's probably something that I would want to continue doing. And then the other thing that I personally really like to live by is to not listen to my feelings ever.
Mhm.
Because I think, sometimes we tend to really listen to too much of the negative
Yeah.
stuff in our head, and to not do the things that we want to do. And sometimes that comes to not going to the gym and not
Yeah.
exercising
Yeah.
and all of these things. So yeah.
So, any last message to our viewers who is looking to the podcast and trying to learn something from this podcast?
Okay. I would again come back to not a listening to their feelings.
Hmm.
I think you have to set a system that works for literally the worst version of you, right? Like, because usually we tend to plan for the best version of ourselves. Like coming into the new year, like it's really easy to fall into this thing where we go, okay, you know what? Like we're going to change everything about ourselves, and this new version of ourselves is going to drive us forward for the next year. But we plan for that version, but we don't necessarily plan for the worst version. And so then it becomes, okay, how do we move, or how do we do things even on our worst days? Like, what's the bare minimum that we can set ourselves even on those days, and then go from there?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ishika. This was a lovely session with you.
Thank you.
And yes, guys, this was it. This is the end of our podcast. But before you leave, do not forget to subscribe to my channel, because if you do, I can bring much more valuable session to this podcast. And also make sure to follow me on TikTok and Instagram, because short clip of this long session for the value will be uploaded there. And lastly, do not forget to share this to even one person, because even one bit of this session might change someone's life. See you all in next episode. Till then, be resilient. Namaste.